Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sammy Snake Racing YouTube channel. My name's Sam, aka Sammy Snake, aka the fastest snake in the world. And in today's video, we're going to show you everything you need to know on how to be fast and consistent in rainy conditions. Now you may have seen this week's Daily Race C is Suzuka 10 laps with dynamic weather. And I've had some really good battles myself this week and I've showed really good pace compared to my usual competitors, but where I really excelled is in wet conditions, and there are a few reasons for that, a few tips, tricks and pointers. So without further ado, let's jump into the race and share those pointers with you. Okay, get your pen and notebook ready. We're about to teach you everything you need to know about driving fast in wet conditions. So in this race, it didn't go very well. I picked up multiple penalties. I was knocked off the track at least once, and you know, it didn't go well. But I suppose we dropped to the back of the grid. We made things more difficult for ourselves. That stuff can happen. But there's enough detailed in this example of the race to show you how much faster it is using the techniques I'm going to talk about in wet conditions. So the first thing you'll notice is I've got the driving line on. The second thing as you can see, is that I've got traction control on. So traction control, pretty self-explanatory. That's to stop the back tyres completely spinning up. So it's almost like a safety net. It allows you a bit more confidence to get on the throttle without worrying about the back tyres completely spinning up. The driving line is all about finding where the grip is most. And what you'll see in this first part of the opening lap is there's a bit of chaos here. This is moment one where things didn't go very well for us. We get snarled up in a bit of everybody just almost completely stopping. We get knocked off the track. We get damaged front and rear, and to top it off, we have been given a 2-second penalty for our part in which we played in that chaos. I think that was a little bit unfair. I didn't really have anywhere to go as everybody was going far too slow into that corner, and then we got knocked off the track. But hey ho, this is Gran Turismo 7. But what I'm going to do, even though, like I said, this race didn't go particularly our way, I want to show you parts of this race where you can see the pace difference and how fast we can go, how much faster we can go than the other cars on the track just by implementing a few techniques. And I want to go into a little bit of detail as to how this all works to give you a deeper understanding of why you should be doing this. I think people often talk about this, but they don't go into detail as to how to execute this. And that's something that I want to do today, to go into heavy detail about why this technique works and how you need to be implementing it. The next thing that I'm actually going to show you in this video is moment number 2, where things didn't go our way. This is our fault, really. We couldn't see the pit exit line very well, and unfortunately we actually crossed the line and gave ourselves a 3-second penalty. But what I want you to take note of in the first half of this lap is the delta. There was over 37, nearly 38 seconds to the leader as we came out the pits. Now sure, we're going to serve a 3-second penalty, but just look at how fast this delta is going down as we are negotiating these corners. What you can see is I'm not actually hitting the apexes of these corners. What I'm actually trying to do is act like that yellow line is almost like lava that you don't want to touch, because I'm aware that that has got probably 50% less grip than all of the other tarmac away from that. So what we want to do is pretend like the track limits are inside of that yellow line, so when we are coming around a corner, we either want to go as close to that and treat that like an apex, or in some occasions actually cut across it as quickly as possible whilst the car is pointing in a straight line, or as straight as it can be, with very little steering or throttle application. And we've done a pretty good job working our way through that first half of the sector. We've managed to make one overtake and gain 3 seconds to the leader. Little side tip, the only time you do want to be on the racing line is if you're serving a penalty. That's because the game brakes when you are serving that penalty, and if you are braking on a less grippy surface such as the racing line, it will slow you down less and cost you less time overall. We can see here I'm actually looking to set up corner exits and corner entries, not trying to avoid the racing line, and because of that we've got a far better exit out of that final corner, and we've made another overtake straight away. That first right-hander, there's no avoiding going over that line, but you'll notice that while I'm on the line I'm trying to have minimal braking or steering inputs and just keep it as smooth as possible. We're acting like the yellow line is the curb. We get as close to it as possible, but we don't want to actually get onto that. And all the cars that are in and around us are staying on that part of the track and losing time. This is a classic example here. We're cutting out wide, we're going across, we're keeping the throttle application very minimal as we cross over the line, and then as soon as we're on the grippy part of the tarmac, we're back on the accelerator, and you can see how easily we are making these overtakes. This right-hander again, the apex all of a sudden is over to the right. We're aiming to the left-hand side of that line on the exit so we can get on the accelerator much sooner. And you can see, even though we've overtaken 2 cars in the half of this lap, we are 8/10 purple in that first sector. That hairpin is a classic example of avoiding the yellow line and going out wide, but cutting in and momentarily crossing the line to actually set up a better exit. Straight line it on the exit, go over that yellow line for a brief period of time, but whilst it's pointed in a much straighter line, so as soon as you get past it you can get fully on the throttle and not worry about wheel spin, understeer, or not as much wheel spin or understeer. Now for this left-hander, there's no avoiding the racing line. Just make sure to brake off it coming in, coast until you get back on the grippy part of the tarmac, and then accelerate again. Now, if you are finding this video helpful, informative or entertaining, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers and any help is really appreciated. But what I'm going to do is jump to the next part of this race, a lap further ahead, where we start to catch up with the traffic in front. Now what I'm going to do, as we come up to Spoon Corner, I'm going to slow things down so you can see exactly what we're trying to achieve. We want to brake to the left of the racing line so we've got more grip, so we can brake later and catch up. Then momentarily cut across to the right hand side. You notice how we lift off all the throttle and the braking as we cross over. Make sure we're as far right to the track as we can where the extra grip is. Take a wider line, a later apex, all whilst trying to avoid that yellow line, and because of that we managed to get on the accelerator a lot earlier and carry so much speed out of that corner that we managed to make another easy overtake. So basically what you're aiming to do coming into every single corner, now you have to use your imagination to a degree to find the optimal line, but the fundamentals are brake off the racing line as much as you possibly can to find time coming into the corner, and as you are going around the corner, experiment and find the best line to come through that corner, allowing you to get on the power nice and early. I find it's much easier to go fast around a track in wet conditions when focusing on your exit speed. Sometimes you may have to sacrifice a little bit of speed coming around it, or sacrifice the optimal line, so it feels slower, but because you can get on the accelerator much earlier and much more aggressively, you actually are much faster overall. Now, what you may have noticed there is I wasn't paying attention and I overtook under yellow flags. So again, we have got another 3-second penalty. But from using this technique, what you'll see here, even though we've got a 3-second penalty and we've overtaken one of those cars that was in front of us before we got that penalty, we managed to pull away and create so much of a gap that by the time that we come to serve the penalty, and I will fast forward that, you'll see that we've managed to maintain our position. So I would estimate you probably lose 5-6 seconds, potentially a little bit more when serving a 3-second penalty. But because of using this technique, we've managed to gap them so much that we actually don't lose that position. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I said this race didn't go my way, I didn't get a great result, but there was enough examples in this race to really give testimony to how powerful this approach is when driving in wet conditions. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this footage running for an entire lap, as this very next lap is my fastest lap of the race. It's in absolutely torrential rainfall conditions. We crossed the line and there was a gap of about 34.5 seconds. Now this is our fastest lap, so it's going to be a prime example of what you're trying to do around Suzuka in wet conditions. You see turn 1, breaking off the racing line, momentarily pass to the outer line where there's more grip, then you can carry more speed, be more aggressive through these S's, again just to the outside of that racing line, carrying more speed, being more aggressive with the throttle, crossing over momentarily, all the fundamentals that we're talking about when racing in these types of conditions. You may be paying attention to the delta. You can see through that first sector there's half a second gained straight away. All the time, all we're doing is looking to break off the racing line, be as close to that racing line as we can without touching it around the corner, and think about setting up a good exit. Now coming up to this hairpin, this is a tricky one to get right. You want to go far left, break in a straight line, cross over to the right hand side, go wide, so then you can get it tight left to where all the grip is. And that, as you can see from the delta, has gained us another chunk of time. We are now 1.5 seconds up on their lap. Again, left of the braking line, the racing line, cross over, carry more speed around the outside, search for the extra grip, wider, later apex, aggressive with the throttle or more aggressive than what you would be on that yellow line. All the time the delta is flying down and we are really catching up. Now, as we come to the end of this lap, they actually jump into the pits. So all we get to learn is we've gained 3.5 seconds at this point. You see it jumps down to 16 seconds. That's because somebody else has taken the lead. So even with 2, 6, 8 seconds of penalties, I think we are in P3 once everybody's made their pit stops, and that was a 2:16.3 on that lap. And I implore you, please do look at some of the fastest YouTubers around, look at similar races they've done and the race pace that they have. I check myself, and without blowing my own trumpet, because this is not, it's just something that you can do once you know, you'll see that this is actually quite a bit faster than 99% of all of the fastest YouTuber streamers out there. So a 2:16 in absolutely torrential red rain cloud conditions is incredibly quick. And I'm not just saying that because I want to brag, I'm saying that because I want to make it clear that this stuff really works. I make these videos to help you out, and you can see we're still making purple sectors. Now again, I'm going to fast forward it to a more exciting part of the race, and that is the final lap, and this is a real good finish. What you can see in front of you is these cars in front get a bit of argy-bargy. The car on the right in P4 is on that slippy part of the track, gets really bad traction out of the corner. P4, on the other hand, gets a pretty drive out of the corner but stays left and is now going to brake on that line, which I know has less grip. So I brake later, make a nice clean move on the inside, make sure I'm not making any aggressive throttle or steering inputs over that yellow line whilst we're on it, search for the extra grip on the outside and get a really nice exit and manage to pull away. Now in front of us is the other Nissan GTR, but this GTR is a lot different. It's four-wheel drive and it's an absolute rocket ship on the straights. So in order to get past, it is going to be incredibly difficult. So we're going to have to try and apply every single part of what we've talked about whilst driving in the wet to have any chance. Brake off the racing line coming into the corners, search for the grip on the outside of the apexes, and try and focus on good exits, all whilst maintaining control of the vehicle. But what you'll see here is what we're up against. Even though we take the line that has got far more grip, because that car is four-wheel drive, it has no problem putting the traction down, even on that slippier portion of the track. But coming around the right-hander, he's on that yellow line for too long and struggles to maintain the speed around the corner. So we're actually not that far away coming into Spoon Corner. Now I think a little bit of pressure from behind just has him pushing slightly too hard and goes deep into that left-hander. And we managed to sneak it round. But it is not over by a long shot. You'll see how fast that Nissan is, and it comes flying down the outside. But again, it has the less grippy part of the track. So I really focus on keeping off that line, maintaining a good corner speed, and thankfully we managed to make the overtake again. Now all we've got to do is make it through this final chicane, get on the grippy part, and focus on a good exit. And we're looking at a P3 after 8 seconds of penalties and being spun round off the track. What a result. If you're here to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that video useful and it will help you to be faster and more consistent in rainy conditions. Now, before you go, if I could ask a small favour, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers and any help is very much appreciated. We do live streams every Monday where we compete in daily races in the top split, and every Sunday we do community races where all the Snake Pit come together and race together. Some fun and some serious races, but all levels are welcome. But for today's video, it's over and out from the Racing Snake, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.